Pigeons have a pretty bad reputation, but I think they're absolutely stunning. Often referred to as flying rats, vermin, or gutter birds. Titles garnered by a single species in many of our towns and cities. It should be known that this diverse group of birds are far from filth. The family, consisting of some 344 species, can be found everywhere on Earth, except for the driest areas of the Sahara Desert, Antarctica and its surrounding islands, and the high Arctic. That being said, they've adapted to most of the habitats available on the planet, from savannas, grasslands, and deserts, to temperate woodlands, rainforests, and mangroves, even the barren sands and gravels of insular atolls. When it comes to feeding, you'd be forgiven for thinking they'll eat just about anything, but the vast majority of species are either frugivores, the fruit eaters, or granivores, the seed eaters, with a handful of specialists also taking invertebrate or reptile prey. Finally, though you may be sick of seeing them just about everywhere, it must be said that these population numbers aren't shared across the clade, with some species being very much at risk of disappearing forever. And now you know. Ever wondered why cockatoos aren't true parrots? Although closely related, even sharing characteristics, such as their strong, curved bills and zygodactylous feet. When you look closely at their form, anatomy, and behavior, there are a number of factors that set them apart from their cousins. One key difference is their movable head crest, a feature almost completely exclusive to the cockatoos. They also have gallbladders, an organ that stores bile, which true parrots entirely lack, and they're missing dike textures in their feathers, the very same textures that allow true parrots to fool us into thinking that they're blue, as, if you've been here for a while, you'll know that bluebirds don't exist. Additionally, they generally have different vocalizations and social behaviors. Cockatoos tend to have a more limited vocal range, and, as a group, aren't as good at mimicking sounds as true parrots are. When it comes to their sociability, they mainly differ from true parrots in how they bond as well as their flock dynamics. And now you know. Colombia is home to 20% of all known bird species, and with a species count of close to 2,000, boasts the highest number found in a single country too. They owe this, and the rest of their incredible biodiversity, to 6 distinct major biomes. Colombia's southern region includes 10% of the Amazon, which in turn makes up about 40% of Colombia's landmass, characterized by dense tropical rainforests and a multitude of river systems. This is the second most biodiverse of the 6 biomes, and rather surprisingly, is beaten in biodiversity by the Andes Mountains, which run through the country, creating a variety of habitats at different elevations, including montane forests, cloud forests, and paramos. In fact, more than 60% of the Andean ecosystem is found within Colombian territories. And then there's the country's Pacific coast, where the Choco-Darien region is found, known for its extremely high rainfall and lush tropical moist forests, as well as its mangroves and wetlands. The biome is relatively small in area compared to the others, but is still considered a biodiversity hotspot, with a high concentration of endemic species and unique ecological communities. The country also harbors 2 river basins. The Magdalena River Basin is located in central Colombia and encompasses habitats such as tropical dry forests and wetlands, whereas the eastern part of Colombia is part of the Orinoco River Basin, characterized by savannas, gallery forests, and wetlands. Also to the east, the Llanos, or Colombian Plains, are vast grasslands that endure seasonal flooding, resulting in a diverse mix of species. It's thanks to this melting pot of geographic ecoregions that Colombia's bird life is so rich. And it isn't just the residents that call this land home, as numerous birds migrate to this country to escape the harsh winters from whence they came. And now you know, blue birds don't exist. Let me explain. Unlike blue, red and yellow feathers are colored by pigments called carotenoids, which are found in what birds eat. Blue is different. No bird can make it from their diet. What we see is created by light interacting with feathers, specifically the interaction with their arrangements of keratin. In other words, blue is a structural color. Different keratin patterns reflect light in subtly different ways. This produces the different shades that we perceive as blue. In fact, a blue feather that's backlit or held under a UV light actually looks grey to our eyes. And now you know. Brazil is home to nearly 20% of all known bird species, and with a species count of close to 2,000, boasts the second highest number found in a single country too. They owe this and the rest of their incredible biodiversity to 6 distinct major biomes. Much of northwestern Brazil is dominated by 60% of the Amazon, which in turn makes up about 40% of the country's landmass. Characterized by dense tropical rainforests and a multitude of river systems, this is the most speciose of the 6 biomes, with second place going to the country's rarer tropical rainforest. The Mata Atlântica is located in fragmented patches along Brazil's coastline, where it has one of the highest levels of endemism in the world, with roughly 60% of its species being unique to this biome. The Cerrado is a close third when it comes to its bird species. This, the second largest biome in South America, and the most biodiverse savanna in the world, is also well known for its level of endemism, as well as for its collection of species adapted to its open and semi-open landscapes. The Pantanal is our planet's largest tropical wetland, and is the home of our world's largest flooded grasslands too. During the rainy season, up to 80% of this biome becomes flooded, supporting the rich diversity of aquatic species that call it home. Of course, it isn't just the country's moist zones that are rich in avifauna, as the semi-arid Caatinga also hosts a bevy of birds. The species found here are especially hardy, as they've evolved to thrive regardless of the hot temperatures and infrequent rainfall seen in this xerophytic biome. Finally, the Pampas may harbor the fewest bird species in Brazil, but this highly threatened grassland biome still serves as an important stopover for many migratory species that flock to these grasslands from all over the Americas to escape the often harsh winters from whence they came. And now you know, vultures have a pretty bad reputation, but I think they're pretty cool. Historically thought of as harbingers of rot and decay, the ironic thing is that most of them prefer fresh cadavers, and some of them don't even eat meat in the first place. The 23 species, which are found on every continent except Antarctica and Australia, are split into 2 groups, the New World vultures and the Old World vultures. Though they may look similar, the groups aren't closely related, and their resemblances are a result of convergent evolution. When vultures fly in circles, it has nothing to do with waiting for prey to die. In fact, they're riding rising hot air, known as thermals, which allow them to soar for long distances with minimal flapping. Pretty clever, if you ask me. And speaking of smarts, one species has even evolved to use tools. The Egyptian vulture uses stones to crack ostrich eggs to access their tasty contents. And now you know, Old World and New World vultures aren't closely related, with New World vultures and storks potentially sharing an ancestor, whilst Old World vultures are relatives of the raptors. And amongst the latter, there are species that may not fit in. The feather-headed lammergeiers and palm-nut vultures may not actually be true vultures, and the white-headed vulture may actually lie somewhere between the vultures and the eagles, though their phylogenies may be convoluted at best. What we do know is that vultures are an incredible example of convergent evolution, as several lineages have converged on a highly niche lifestyle, making them the only obligate scavengers in terrestrial ecosystems. And now you know. How well do you know your true parrots? This superfamily of over 350 species features familiar birds like the parrots, parakeets, and parrotlets, as well as the macaws, amazons, lories, and lorikeets. But this vast group also contains the racket-tails, bluebonnets, and rosellas, amongst a fair few others. The group is separated into 3 clades. The first are the holotropical parrots, which are made up of the Afrotropicals, found across much of sub-Saharan Africa, and the Neotropicals, located throughout South and Central America. This combined group is likely the most well-known of the true parrots, and is represented by some of the most iconic birds in the world. The second clade is made up of the Old World parrots. These birds can be found in Asia and parts of Africa, as well as Australia and the islands that surround it. The final and smallest clade is made up of just 2 genera. The first contains a single species native to New Guinea, and the second contains 4, which are distributed throughout Madagascar and other islands in the Indian Ocean. And now you know. Birds of prey aren't as closely related as you might have thought. Although eagles and hawks are indeed close relatives, falcons are actually the cousins of parrots, and owls are in a group all on their lonesome. Despite similarities in their anatomy and behavior, these groups aren't genetically similar to one another. One possibility for how this came to be is that they convergently evolved features to suit their similar lifestyles. But another hypothesis is that many birds descended from a predatory ancestor, and as that ancestor divergently evolved, these groups simply retained their ancestral features. And now you know. When it comes to nocturnal hunting, few compared to owls. These masters of the night have a hunt success rate of around 85%, a return that many other birds of prey would kill for. The keys to their success are their hearing, vision, and silence. Like all birds, owls lack external ears, but they make up for this with facial discs that funnel sounds, and their ear canals are also asymmetrical, meaning they can process sound directions horizontally, like us, but also vertically. Perfect when searching for prey in low light. They also have enormous tube-shaped eyes to capture as much light as possible in their often dark habitats. Given their eyes are forward-facing and lack muscles to move them, owls have to swivel their heads to look around themselves and are able to turn them about 270 degrees. Unfortunately, their ability to see things that are far away comes at the expense of their ability to see things up close. To get around this, they use whisker-like feathers called rictal bristles to feel things that they can't see. Lastly, owls are known for their ability to fly near silently. When air rushes over a regular wing, a gushing noise is emitted as areas of turbulent air build up. Owl flight feathers are covered in small structures. These serrations break up the air into smaller, more stable flows, therefore reducing the noise of the flowing air. And now you know.